Little Canada, 3rd through 6th graders. Miss Theresa is back with us again and is going to do a video demonstration on some hand drawings. If you go into your sketchbook, we're going to be working from our bingo board again on page 22 and on page 23 in Spanish. We're going to be looking at this one right here. And the directions are to practice drawing your hand from multiple perspectives, which means more than one perspective. So instead of just drawing it like this, maybe try drawing it like this, like this, like this, like this. Curl your fingers up, make a claw. You can come up with any way, but multiple perspectives, more than one. And then you can look to YouTube if you want, but she's going to do a really cool video demonstration for you. And then I want you to try and create a finished artwork from that. Now that could be anything. It could be a bunch of sketches together. Maybe you want to turn your hand drawing into some sort of animal or creature. It's really up to you. I just want you to try and create something finished. Now if you don't have blank paper in your sketchbook, you can use the back of any of your pages, or you can use the back of your cover or any paper you have around. You could use old mail, junk mail. You could use the back of my letter. Anywhere you can find plain paper. You could even, if you know in the book how there's that doodle page where you can doodle over text, you could find a page with writing on it and do hand drawings on top of that. There are no rules in art about where you're putting your art, so please be creative with it. And then share your art with me on Artsonia or in Google Classroom or on Seesaw. Or send me an email. I can't wait to see what you do. Let's get ready to learn. Blow all your air out. Big belly in. Out. Remember, try to breathe just in your belly. In. Out. In. Out. Big belly in. Out. Last one. In. All right, here's Miss Theresa.
Hello, little Canada. It is Miss Theresa again. Today, I'm going to come to you from my laptop. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to talk about how to draw hands. And my hope is that our hands will look a little better than this guy's hands by the end of this demonstration. I hope everyone's been doing well, finding lots of fun activities to do, finding cool new hobbies, finding new games to play, staying on top of their schoolwork. So since I'm on my laptop, I can't necessarily show you my hand per se, but here's a photo I took of my hand to kind of talk about how I like to break it down. So when you're looking at your hand from life, you're not necessarily going to have the option to trace it, but you are going to have the option to observe it. So you can kind of study it closely. So you could kind of come at here and just do this. Draw a hand that way. Now this isn't wrong, but it's just kind of making a little more work for yourself. How I like to draw hands is I like to kind of break everything down. So I look at this, what's the first shape you kind of notice? What I see when I look at this is I kind of see almost a circle. And then we have these little, our hands are kind of broken up into these little digits and they follow a path. And that path is curved. So if you look at our fingers, they kind of go along this curved path. And then at the other digits, it's another curved path. Our fingers are these cute, or fingertips I should say, these cute little ovals. And then you can break it down to these nice little sausage link shapes. Our thumb, my thumb's pretty curved. I think they like to call it a hitchhiker's thumb. Your thumb might look a little different from mine, but I definitely have some sharp definition in my thumb, so I'm going to draw that. Include that in my drawing. What else do we notice looking at this hand? We see the wrist has some creases. And also when our hands are flipped, we're looking at the palm, we have these really beautiful lines in our palms that we can kind of acknowledge in our drawing. Kind of coming back in here, just going to outline this in a darker color so you kind of see what we're talking about. Take that guy away. Take this guy away. So now we can kind of see kind of the details of the hands. This is like a very simple hand pose. This is kind of a good starting point for where you want to draw hands. Then I want to challenge you to kind of draw your hand in a really interesting and intricate way. So I'm going to do this with you, and again, we're just going to talk about your hand pose might look a little different first off, but just do something like maybe as complex as you can just for fun. It's not going to be perfect, and we're not striving for perfection. We're going to go for practice because practice is just going to make this look more and more realistic by the end of it. So again, when I look at this, what shapes do I like to notice or do I start with first? These are the questions I like to ask. Me personally, I always start with the biggest shapes first and then work off that. When I think of the biggest shape of my hand, again, it's this big circular palm shape. So I'm going to come and I'm going to draw, and again, it's not a perfect circle, but it is circle-like, and that's always a good starting point. So my fingers are really disjointed here, so it's going to be a little tricky for me to do that cool knuckle trick where everything lines up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of do some guides of where I think my fingers are going. Again, whenever we draw something like hands or anything from life, really, it's not like we expect to get this on the first shot. No one ever does. That's why you always just kind of practice, refine. The biggest thing is always look at your subject. Look at what you're studying. Stare at it. What do you notice? Look at its relation to other elements. For here, I see that this finger is going to line up with this thumb. This is a good relation. So I want to make sure I reflect that in my drawing. I see that this pinky finger lines up with this crease of the knuckle and the end of the hand. So that means my pinky is actually going to go all the way out here. This finger, we see how close it is to the edge of the hand. So this pinky is going to be way out here. The second finger is going to get pretty close. And then what's another relation? A little distance between this finger and this finger is another relation. So this finger is going to actually go right up to here. So I like to kind of just do circles for where my fingernails would be, my fingerprints. Kind of call them ovals too. I also do this to kind of show the thickness of my fingers as well. So just get all these little circles in. You know, it's funny, as a child, I was always reading how-to drawing books, and they always told me to break things down into shapes, and I never did until I got into art school, and then I realized that that is a very valuable skill. So I'm sharing that wisdom onto you now and telling you that this is a very valuable skill. So we can observe my wrist bone over here. So I'm just drawing that down here. What shape do we see coming in here? It's actually pretty flat, pretty angular. So I'm going to draw this pretty flat. Pull my wrist bone out a little more. See what I mean over here? You keep editing, you keep refining, you never stop. See this kind of shape right here by our finger? I'm imitating that down here. You see all these cool lines in the hand? We're going to get to those a little later, so don't you worry. I'd like to point out as well, look at the shape of your fingers. They're not these perfect flat lines. Each digit has its own unique shape. You see how there's some curve in here? Show the little meat on our bones. So I'm just going to challenge you to really pay attention to your subject, which is you. Pay attention to yourself. When you're looking at a complex shape, like what we're doing with our hands, really, really pay attention to every little curve, every little angle. Look at this finger. Right here alone, I found 3 different angles. When I come down this way, number 4. This is going to mirror this side, and it curves. So really study your subjects and really pay attention to all of those angles. Come down here. Really lay that out there. This finger got a little fat compared to my other fingers, but that's what the beauty of erasing is for. So as we can see, my drawing's even looking a little different from this, because here everything touches, and in here I don't have that yet. So what do you think I need to do to improve that? You're going to notice these things in your own drawings. You're going to notice things don't line up to what they need to. That's where you just erase and you just keep at it. Erasing is fun, I think. I don't know what you all think. You all might not agree with me. Finally, I got my thumb down here. We'll just add that thumb way down there. Oh my goodness. Now, moment of truth, delete this line. Now we gotta look at all the creases in our hands. You see this thumb has a crease. What these creases are gonna do is they're gonna just make it look more realistic. It's gonna make it look more anatomically correct. It gives our eyes more information on our subjects. I'm gonna add in a little shadow here. It just helps it look a little more realistic. I'm just adding in some shadows for you all. And there is a fun demo of how to do a complex item with a complex pose of your hand. Again, as you can see even on mine, it's not perfect. It's not what we're striving for. We're striving for practice, 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 making it look realistic as possible. And with every hand drawing that you do, it's going to get more and more realistic. It's going to be easier and easier. It's going to be less frustrating. I know a lot of people get frustrated by drawing hands and faces because if one thing is wrong, it looks very off. That's why I encourage you to just keep practicing, just keep trying, playing around with it, see what you come up with. Have fun. That's the most important thing. Have fun with it. Thank you all. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your day. I hope you've been enjoying your summer. Take care.